take, make, and waste. Let us take, let us make, let us utilize, let us share, let us lend it to other people, let us reuse it, let us repair it, let us refurbish it, let us recycle it for as long as is possible. And then when we're done, we don't toss it away. Let us break it down into little parts and see what we can use it for yet again. I don't know if you're able to follow what I said. So while in one end we just have take, make, and waste, in circular economy we say no. Rather than just do that, we can utilize these resources over and over and over again until there's absolutely nothing left to do with that resource again. Now, some people will say this is a poverty mindset, which is a lot of the conversations we have had in times past. How will I use this thing over and over again? How you even have people that say, is that not the same dress you wore for like 4 days? 4 days is still okay. You've been wearing this dress for like 6 years, 7 years. Is it not tired? And things like that. They feel that, okay, you're poor, which is why a lot of people might struggle with using stuff, because when you get to a certain level of wealth, you want to, get something new for yourself. You want to show that you have arrived. Whereas for the benefit of the planet, for the benefit of ourselves, to enjoy all the resources that we met here, it's preferable to use things. If you are tired of using them, make sure they are in good condition. Give them to someone to continue the cycle. So that is what circular economy in simple terms is about. Now, one of the myths of circular economy, is that recycling is all that circular economy is about. So you hear a lot about plastic recycling. I'm sure some people may have heard about textile recycling. If you've not, don't worry, I'll tell you a bit about that. E-waste recycling and so on. Now, recycling is beautiful. It's important, but it is not the central focus of circular economy. It is in fact one of the last resorts of circular economy. Remember, I've mentioned sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling. So there are so many steps before you even get to that recycling point. And that is what makes circular economy very, very interesting. Now, to continue, let's look at what are some of the benefits of circular economy to the climate condition. And because that is where one of the serious issues is today. Okay, so why is circular economy important? First and foremost, circular economy helps us to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. How? Because rather than take things from the earth, and when you are taking things from the earth, there is a whole process to it. There's an extraction process. You have machineries. You are either drilling, cutting down trees, tapping from the soil, digging. You are doing a lot of things that are removing value from the soil. And most times, we're not doing things that replace that value. But in circular economy, you are now forced to reduce how much of those kind of extraction activities that you carry out, and instead focus on saying that the things we've extracted already, how can we maximize them to their fullest potential? So in that way, circular economy helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Not only that, circular economy also forces you to think differently about energy sources. So it enhances energy efficiency, because you now begin to think about how can I, use a much more cleaner energy source to get the things that I need. Whereas on a normal day, you'll be like anything goes. So in circular economy, you are forced to think about how can we utilize solar? How can we utilize organic waste, to create power? How can we use wind energy? Is there a way to use water for energy? It goes as far as your mind can think, because I feel we are only limited to what our imaginations can carry. So circular economy even forces you to be creative, because you begin to innovate, you begin to think, you begin to ask not how or not why it cannot be done, but how can it be done? So in circular economy, that's the kind of mindset that we expect people to come into. Not, oh, we cannot do it, but rather, how can we do it? And not only do it, but do it efficiently. Do it and save resources. Do it and help people live a better life. So those are some of the things about circular economy. Of course, I think in explaining these two things, I've already explained about minimizing resource depletion. So because, of course, you are reducing the amount of things you take from the earth, you reduce the amount of resources that we deplete. So a lot before that, in the past, we used to think that, okay, secular, no, we used to think that resources were infinite, so it will never finish. There will always be an abundance of things. But today, in some countries, they are lacking most of the resources that they had many years ago, which is forcing them to say the ones we have, or the ones that we've already sent into the system, sent into the economy, what can we do to utilize it? So circular economy helps you to minimize the amount of depletion of natural resources. Even trees, for example, the cutting down of trees, it forces you to stop doing that. It forces you to start planting trees, or causes you to start planting trees. And then finally, circular economy helps you to create new economic opportunities. So I'm sure that there are so many things that people may have not thought of. So let me give you an example of one that was very interesting. And it's an agricultural business. I think it's called Agric, Digit Agric. And now what those people did was they took rice, for example. Now, rice, you plant rice. Many of us have not seen rice being planted. I don't think I have in real terms, but that's not the point. The point is, rice, for example, they took rice. Rice comes in a husk, or a kind of a shell, before it is, polished, and then we eat the rice that we cook at home. Now they take that husk when they have planted them, they have harvested the rice, and rather than toss off that husk as like a product that you can just throw away, they think about how can we turn this thing into fertilizer, organic fertilizer, that we can send back into the soil and cause it to provide nutrients for the soil, so that when we plant again, we have something, coming up beautifully, that is gotten from a waste product of rice. And that was what the company set out to do. So when they harvest their rice, they dehusk the rice, they package the one they have polished, send it into the market. They don't waste the husk. Instead, they say this husk, they add a few other elements to it, make it into organic biochar, and then sell to farmers who can now utilize this as fertilizer for their soil health. So isn't that interesting? If you find that that is interesting, you can leave it, in the chat box, so that others can also read from that. Or if you have seen examples in your own environment, you can also drop it there in the chat, so that you get to share with others as well, because I'm sure that you have seen some of these things popping up and down. Here is another interesting one. Very, very interesting. So I'm at an event today, and I had the privilege of meeting somebody from Planet 3R. Now, what Planet 3R does is they take pure water nylon, your normal pure water nylon, and then this lady found an amazing way to shred that pure water nylon into fine, fine, thin pieces, and then weave it back together. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture. So she weaves it back together into a long sheet of like a fabric, and then makes it to uses it to make bags. So we have things like school bags. We have things like even a shirt that you can wear. Of course, that would be sort of like a luxury item, and everything is made from pure water nylon, recycled pure water nylon. And if you trust me, there is nowhere in Lagos that you will not see pure water nylon, because we consume a lot of water when there's heat and all that. So this lady said, once this pure water nylon is being disposed, rather than it being all, caught up everywhere, messy and all, let me take my knowledge. So it builds on your existing knowledge. Let me take my knowledge, my existing knowledge on how they make ashoke. Ashoke is a Yoruba fabric. Ashoke, the weaving process, and see how we can use pure water nylon to do the same. And every single time, she's coming up with innovations to make it even better. So those are just two simple examples of what circular economy in action looks like. Now, we're going to talk about the principles of circular economy. So what makes this thing so innovative? What are these people building on? Because they're building on something. They're building on some mindset. They're building on some principles that allow them to say, this is what I want to achieve, and I'm going to achieve it. So there are three core principles of circular economy. One, eliminate waste and production. So in this circular economy, you need to think to yourself, how do we eliminate waste, and how do we eliminate pollution? I made a mistake there, pollution. The second one is how do we circulate products and materials at their highest value? And then the final one is how do we regenerate nature? Circular economy is interested in three things. How do we eliminate waste and pollution? How do we circulate these resources and materials at their highest value? And how do we regenerate nature? Let's look at the first one quickly. So for the first one, it says, what if waste and pollution were never created in the first place? Because most of the troubles that we go through are man-made. We caused it probably because we didn't understand how something was expected to work. But now that we have an understanding of how things are expected to work, we're able to do something different. So when you come into circular economy, you think about it. How can I do something in such a way that there is no waste and there is no pollution? So you begin to think of alternatives. You begin to think of alternatives as much as possible. So instead of any things ending up in landfills and so on and so forth, no, let me take it this way. So it means that if you want to create a product now, say I want to create a product like, I'm going to use a live example, a company that I'm going to show you one of the products. I think it's coconut jam. Now I want to make I have coconut, for example. How do I look at a coconut fruit in such a way that there is no waste and there is no pollution as a result of that fruit? Okay, I allow human beings to go harvest the coconut instead of using machinery. And if I'm to use machinery, I ensure that the machinery does not constitute to pollution or has a very good energy source. I've taken the coconut, I dehusk it. It comes in this kind of husk. I dry the husk and I use it as a fire starter. That's the outer husk. Now it has a hard shell. I crack it open. I've cracked it open. That hard shell, I don't want to throw it away, so I set it aside. I polish the back as much as possible so it looks very presentable. And then later on, I make scented coconut candles out of it. Not candy, coconut candle. That can be in your rooms, you light it, you feel the whole mood feeling, good and fine and fun. Awesome. Now there's a fruit inside the coconut, which is the one we used to drink our gari and, enjoy ourselves based on how Nigeria is sometimes. Now, I don't stop at okay, let's just do gari and granite. I take that coconut and I make coconut flakes, coconut candy. I don't stop there. I say, okay, how can we make coconut balls in such a way that we can add flour, almost like chin chin? We can add, a bit of sugar. We can combine other things, because when you're making coconut candy or coconut milk or coconut oil, you will have a lot of, it's not waste. You will have how do I put it? You have the little granules that are going to be left remaining. Now, rather than waste that, you now say, how do I combine this into another food item that I'm going to produce? Now, in your own mind, what has this person accomplished? This person has been able to look at the whole system, the whole cycle of their production, the whole creation process to say, I'm going to utilize everything. And as much as possible, I'm not going to cause pollution. How do I even supply this? I can make sure that I have pickup centers, almost close to residents. So residents don't necessarily need to go so far to get my product. In so doing, you are thinking about every single step of your journey in producing your product so that you do not create waste at all and you don't cause pollution. Now, let's move very quickly to the second one. So I would appreciate a timer if I am going, someone that could just remind me when it's almost time up. Okay, so that I don't go over time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the second one is, okay, thank you. So I hope we're enjoying the class, because I think I'm enjoying myself. I don't want it to be a one-sided enjoyment of the session where I'm just talking. Okay, I see someone saying interesting. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. That's awesome feedback. So let me continue. Now, when we come to the second principle of circular economy. So I see someone's hand raised. So maybe at the end, I think we have a 15-minute window at the end of the session, so that you could ask whatever questions that you have, and then I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. Thank you. So now, circulating products and materials at their highest value. Let's not talk about coconuts this time. Let's talk about, should we do phones? Let's talk about phones. So that's a tricky subject, but let's see about phones. Typically, when you get a phone, most of this time, what happens to the phone? You use it for a couple of years. And then when you are done with the phone, what do you do? I feel Nigeria, we've gotten something right to a certain degree. We rarely ever throw away our phones. We don't do that. It's that we give them out as a hand-me-down to someone else who needs it. Or if it gets spoiled, we take it to those people who repair phones and tell them to break it down into bits. So we look at it and say, what part of this, can I use the panel? Can we use the speaker? Is the speaker still good? Is the body, the outer cover still good? And so on and so forth. In that particular order of things, we are able to achieve these circulating products and materials at their highest value. So what this means is that you use the phone, you give it to someone else to use when you are getting a new one, or you resell. Now, when it has gotten to the point where you're probably tired of the phone, or the phone is probably no more in circulation because they produce a lot of phones these days, you could give it to somebody whose work is to dismantle phones and use those parts of the phones to either make a brand new phone or to use as a spare part for other phones. Now, sometimes the phone is almost damaged beyond repair, which is where we now have e-waste. So e-waste is electronic waste. And in this type of system, we say that, electronic waste is still important and it should be discarded properly because it's also dangerous. So there may be some toxic parts of that phone that you need to be very careful of. So you don't do the whole dismantling yourself. But there are drop-off points that are created where you can drop these parts off. And then those parts are taken and probably turned into cement. I know that would sound like a long shot, but it's not. It's actually really happening. So it's possible, depending on the composition. No, so it's not all phones that do this. So depending on the parts of the phones, because in your phone, you have plastic, you have metal, you have wire. So you have different parts of that phone. So as a whole, even when it's spoiled, it still has some value. The value may not necessarily be up to the point of what you bought it, but if it is properly dismantled and then circulated to the right channels, it still has value. So that is what circular economy is about. That even when you are building a product, that at the end of the day, it will have to be discarded. If it's a laptop, it's a technological device, there is still value in all those parts. And you as the producer, so you as the manufacturer of that product, set up a system where you can recall these items and use them for something better. So that's a simple example of circulating products and materials at their highest value. I want to move quickly to the next one, which I think would help, to better explain this. So for this circulate products at the highest value, we have two kinds of flows. So we have the biological flow and the technical or the material flow, which is what I talked about when I talked about the phones. Now, for the biological flow, it will be something like, if we use food, for example, when we eat our food, we have food waste. Now, instead of throwing that food waste along with paper, plastic bottles, and so on, we separate our waste. And we have our food waste in one corner, we have our plastic in another corner. Now, the food waste, it can decompose, so it's biodegradable. It can reduce to its smallest form. It can become, a very good resource for planting, maybe, because it decomposes. So those type of waste, when you separate them, the food will not necessarily be wasted, insofar as you can always find a way it is used. There is also another option. If you don't want to use it, okay, it gets decomposed and then you use it for fertilizer. It could also be used as an energy source, as a way to generate energy. So that would probably be a solution for all this big fast food outlets, restaurants, and so on. That when they have waste, imagine a system when they have food waste, people can't finish their food, they have leftover pieces. Rather than them just tossing it off, they have a machinery. It's a machinery that is set up, and I think an anaerobic respirator or something. I don't know what it's called, but I know it's a machine that takes your organic waste and then turns it into an energy source that can now power the building and all your activities that happens there. There's a company that does this. It's Autodros. So they work hand in hand with food companies, restaurants, and so on to create that system where whatever food waste they generate in a day, they put it back into the machine. The machine helps them process it. It takes its time to do that, and then they have an alternative energy source. So these are like two flows where you have the biological flow and the technical flow. And this is just a simple diagram to explain that. So in this simple diagram, you have things like generating biogas. Yes, this is what is called anaerobic digestion, which is on this is my left, yes. So to my left, this is just the example of the biological part, this end, while this is the more of the technical part. And in the technical part, remember I mentioned that you share. That is, you could either share something, you could either, no, I didn't mention share for the phone. So I said you could give it to someone else. So that could actually pass as sharing. Then you reuse it or redistribute it. Then you refurbish it, which is why we have a lot of phones that you call refurbished phones. So when they've taken it back, they set it up, make it good, almost as good as new, and then they send it back into the market. And then the final recycling, where probably they break down all the elements of that device and then use it to make another material entirely. Now, so we're going to do a quick exercise. And this is where we're pausing for thought. Based on that diagram, I know I brushed through the diagram very quickly, but now let's test how attentive you were. Where would a mobile phone repair service, where would it be in that diagram? Would it be on the left? Would it be on the left or would it be on the right? So for this one, I'm actually quickly going to go to the comments, the chat box rather, and check. Let's see. Oh, so Sophia is saying it will be on the right. I don't know if you're correct. Let's see if other people agree with you. Left. Oh, someone said left, right, right, right. Left. Okay. I'm wondering, why are you thinking left? Those people that are saying left. Okay, I'm going to stop looking at the chat for a brief second. All right. Okay. So if you said left, I'm curious as to why you said it. Let's go back and look at the example I gave. Why is this thing? Okay, yes. So we said a mobile phone repair service. Would it be on the left or on the right? And going back, it would be on the right because number one, a phone is a technical device. It is not a biological device. Don't worry, one day we'll probably have phones that are fitted to our bodies. So that's pretty scary. No, let's leave that conversation. So a phone is a technological device. So it falls on the right and not on the left. Now, if I'm offering you a mobile phone repair service so that when your phone goes bad, you don't just throw it away, you repair it, you redo your screen, you do the loudspeaker, the speaker, you do the earpiece and everything. I am helping you in this arm. So I am either refurbishing it. A mobile device repair store. This is A, B, C, and D. So you could put, oh, some people are saying you can't hear me. Okay. Sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Sorry. Oh, awesome. Yes, you can. Okay. So I was saying that so that, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. It probably was my network. So I was saying that to be very fast, let's do A, B, C, D. So A is a car. So what you do is A left, B right, C, you pick your answer. So A, if A is left or right, you put left or right. B is left or right, you put left or right. C is left or right, you put left or right. So that we could do this very quickly. So uh would a car sharing scheme be on the left or on the right? Would a bottle plastic recycling scheme be on the left or on the right? And would regenerative agriculture be on the left or on the right? Right, right, left. Okay, I think that's three. Okay, A, B, C, C. So car sharing, only one person has awesome. Right, right, left, left. Okay, okay. Right, right, left, left. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Oh, okay. So while you keep the answers coming in, let's quickly look at it. Okay, so we have car sharing scheme. So for car sharing scheme, please let's bear in mind, car sharing scheme will be on the right. Why? Technological or technical material, most of its parts are made of metal. Or have you seen a car made of wood before? That's interesting. Have you seen a car made of wood? That would. I think we used to have some of those carts, those wheel carts that we used to use those days. But then most of the cars we have today, let's not divert too much. Most of the cars that we have today, they are made of metal. Now, a car sharing scheme is Uber. Oh, we're not advertising any of them, but then Uber, Taxify, and so on and so forth. Those schemes, they're actually on the right. They allow you to share. So it's more of like ride sharing or carpooling. And that helps reduce the amount of pollution. So the amount of carbon. Okay, some cars are made of fiber. Interesting. I'm not aware of that, but that's really interesting. So for the car sharing scheme, you get to share the car, which allows you to reduce the amount of carbon emission that is emitted to the atmosphere. You understand? So rather than everybody owning,
Okay, it seems Deborah has a network glitch from her end. Let's wait shortly as she rejoins the session. I think she should be back in less than a minute. Yeah, hopefully that's a network issue. She should be back in some minutes time, in less than a minute. But while we have Ms. Deborah back on the call, she mentioned an organization named Planetary, that's in person of Mrs. Lassisi. I want to play a video of our initiative. I'm going to play a video of an initiative for us just to see what she's doing with pure water islands. And yeah, the awesome work they are doing at Planetary Owl with pure water island. Let me see if I can check for a video in that regard. Okay, yeah.
My name is Adejokela Sisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planetary R. Planetary R is a social enterprise that is dedicated to converting textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. I realize that many people are already doing things in the environmental sector, but I noticed that they neglect the pure water sachet a lot. And when you look at it, in a day, some people drink like 10 of it in a day, and they just throw it down like that. I now thought of it that how can we complement the existing solution? How can we use it to make sure that this waste is no longer there, at the same time create opportunity from converting those waste into items?
I came here as a weaver to learn how to weave. Then I was introduced into how to convert this waste into weaving.
Mo gbọ́ tí nǹkan inform mi nípa Planetary Owl, but wọ́n dẹ̀ inform mi, so ẹni yẹn ṣàmùmọ̀ àti Jọkẹ́, but wọ́n mú mi sájọ́ pé wọ́n train wọn.
We've also been able to employ women and girls. Also, we've sensitized the need of having a clean environment to over 6,000 students and communities across Oyo State, Nigeria.
The impact she's making, because people see pure water sachet as irrelevant. I'm done with my water, I bought it 20 naira and I've thrown it away. And then when they see the bag, they see the product of Planetary Owl, they're like, you mean that sachet that you're just about to throw away? I mean, it's phenomenal.
This is Amororo Kitchenette. So we are selling food here. Planetary Owl is in our neighborhood here. I dispose the pure water nylon to them every week.
We've been trying to do this. We are making sure that nobody is left behind. Even we want to make sure that we catch them young, especially the advocacy part, so that they are conscious of the environment.
Okay. Yeah, that's just a short video from Planetary Owl. So we still don't have, I'm trying to see if we have Mrs. Deborah on this call now. Just while we wait, we'll try as much as possible to share some briefing. Yeah, it's an interesting initiative indeed. And I know that many of us across our different households, we have pure water nylon, which we always consume each day. Myself, I'm a testifier to that. So at least for close to a year now, we've been keeping each and every pure water nylon. At least like the last 6 months, we've been able to record like 3,000 pure water nylons, which we are handing over to Planetary Owl. So you can as well do that from your own end, and you can also share the contacts of the organization with you. If you want to reach out to them, you want to give it for free. I don't know if there is a bonus, definitely, but you can also always keep it away. Yeah, please don't throw it away. Don't throw it away, because it's also part of what it's also affect the way we see plastic waste. It also affects the biodiversity, both under land, underwater, and in the soil. Yeah, while we wait for Ms. Deborah to come back to complete our session, I'm just trying to see if the technical guys can reach her. But I will also, okay, she's back on the call now. She's back on the call now. Thank you very much. You can move on with your session. But after she's done with this session, we'll go forward to the information session to answer some of our requests or areas of concern. All right. Okay, I'm not sure she's in. Our organization is based in Ibadan, or your state, but I know that she's always everywhere. Like Deborah said, she's currently in Lagos as we speak, and we can always have a pickup spot across the state for whoever that wants to share their pure water nylon. All right, over to you, Deborah.
Okay, so
So may I confirm, are you joining with two devices? If you are joining with two devices, it might actually
so
cause some.
okay, yeah. So allow me to. I'm so sorry.
So it will keep that echo will keep coming up. What's the name of your second device?
It's the same name.
The same name. Okay. Awesome. All right, that's fine. Yeah, you can share now.
Okay, thank you. So I sincerely apologize for the break in the session. I am so sorry about that.
Fine,
Um,
that's fine. Just
yeah.
network,
So,
Nigerian network.
mhm. So I want to quickly just share this screen. I think we're almost out of time. So I'll just round up this particular poll that we were having. So I stopped at plastic bottle recycling. And then I said plastic bottle recycling is also on the right because like we said, recycling is like the last resort, number one. And then number two, plastics they are not biodegradable materials. So it's very difficult for plastic to biodegrade. So a lot of times you would see plastics lasting over, I think, 100 years. Please don't quote me though, but you see plastic lasting a lot of years before it's even able to break down um, into smaller elements. So that's why we often, recycle or encourage recycling plastics rather than always having virgin plastics being made. And then finally, the last one there is regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture would definitely be on the left of this diagram. Why? Because anything agriculture happens to do with nature, and once it's nature, it's usually renewable if you give it the amount of time needed for it to regenerate itself or for it to renew itself. So this is the last principle, and I think this is where I will be rounding up the session. Now, the last principle is regenerative nature. And of course, the last example has laid some sort of foundation to this. And for this one, I feel this tells us, first of all, to learn to allow nature regenerate itself. So, like I said, nature is in circles. So we have, why this might seem cruel to some people, we have smaller animals being eaten up by larger animals. Those larger animals will die and then they become like food for the soil, and then trees grow and so on and so forth. So if you look at that system, it's like a complete circle. Nothing is actually out of place and nothing is wasted. Now, when we cut trees, we take more food than we need. We decide that, okay, these are the kind of materials we want to use for our books, and so on and so forth, without a plan in place for the soil to regain its nutrients. It affects nature, which in turn affect the climate, which is why we have hotter days these days, and it's just something else. I want to buy it. Anyway, so for regenerative nature, regenerate nature, circular economy, it emphasizes that you allow nature to regenerate itself, and you can do that by 3 ways. Just 3 ways for a start. You can do agroecology. Now, agroecology is an academic discipline that studies different ecological processes that can be applied to agricultural production systems. So it does not say, oh, it must be one particular way. It says, let us look at all the different ways. Let's look at organic, let's look at regenerative, let's look at integrated, let's look at industrial. So even if you're going to use machineries to advance agriculture, let's look at that. Let's look at intensive, let's look at extensive, the different kind of agricultural production systems that are possible. Let's look at all of them in a bid to ensure that nature is preserved for as long as possible. So this is where we have the academians coming into play, sharing the knowledge that they have with then the experts on the field, the people that do the actual work on the field, giving them guidelines so that they can actually know produce good results. We also have conservative agriculture, where you have to protect the soil, you protect water, and so on. And if you remember, one of the examples that I gave you, teaching agric, where they still take, whatever husk that they have made gotten from the rice, and then find a way to put it back into the soil. Sometimes it may be as simple as letting a land lie fallow, so you don't plant for a period of time, so that the land has enough time to recuperate, to get the nutrients back before you then plant on top. And then we have agroforestry. Now, if you go to a forest, many of us may have not been to forest, but if you watch, because we learn by watching as well. If you watch a lot of documentaries or nature documentaries and so on, you will find that even though there are very tall trees, there are also shrubs and other plants that are around them almost at the same time. So it means that in nature, one does not actually solve the whole problem. All of them have an important role that they are playing. So it's not enough for us to say we want to just plant only trees. We should pay attention to shrubs, we should pay attention to herbs too. And if possible, find a way to plant them in the same environment that they can all grow together. Those taller ones serving as a shade for the ones that don't need as much sunlight, and so on and so forth. So it need us to now imitate nature or learn from nature and then practice it, help it. Would it be practice? I think imitation is the best word. Imitate it as much as possible, that there is almost no distinction. You would think that such a thing happened by nature's design, but we are simply correcting the mistakes that we've made. On a final note, I think that there will be a diverse amount of people here, people with different passions, different fields, different sector, and so on and so forth. And one of the questions that will be on each person's mind will probably be, how does this apply to me? Now, I can't go to the slide. I will share the slide, of course, with Emmanuel. But then what we found is that in circular economy, nobody is left out. So while you may not necessarily be a champion, right now I'm serving the role as an educator. So I'm educating. I'm telling people about circular economy. You guys are going to go on and be advocates. You will probably do sensitizations, campaigns, and so on and so forth. Somebody who is a graphic designer will design graphics. Somebody who is a farmer will do farming. Somebody who is into fashion design will probably say, even in the fashion design, how do I treat my textile waste? Someone who is in media would say, okay, let me have programs. Let me reach out to people. Let me connect the dots. Someone who is in a government office will say, let's look at the policies that are in place. Do they allow for easy integration of circular economy, or are they disrupting the flow? Are they hindering people from being able to come up with innovative ideas? A doctor would say, okay, what is the best type of medicine we can use? Or even in the establishment, we say, what energy source are we using for our facilities? So if you choose to look at it in those ways, you will find that none of us is exempted from circular economy. We may not all contribute in the same degree or in the same powers, but still we all have a role to play. So in an event where everybody is like feeling, okay, I don't have something to contribute to circular economy, we cannot achieve much. But in a situation where all of us, say, I will do my part, no matter how small it looks right now, I will do my part, and I would allow that part grow in stages and in steps. I will allow it to keep innovating. I will allow it to keep. So I would allow it to keep, innovating. I will allow it to keep. Sorry for that distraction. Allow myself to, keep growing, to keep learning about ways I can contribute. I believe that we can do a fantastic job. And with that, that's where I'm going to end the session today. It has been an interesting time sharing this with you, and I hope you learned a lot as well. I actually enjoyed myself. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you for this wonderful session. I really appreciate it. I understand that you also have another event going on as we speak. Thank you for finding time to be available for this session. Right about now, we quickly like to take one or two questions so that you can also get to catch up with your event. And those of us that are online, if you have a question that you want to ask directly, you can raise your hand, and you can also use the comment section to drop your questions, whereby the program managers will pick it up and share with the facilitator. All right, those, I think, do you have any hand up? Is anyone that wants to ask a question for this morning? Okay, I can see someone's. All right, you can unmute your mic and ask your question, Mutiu.
Hello, good morning.
Good
Can you hear
morning.
me?
Yes,
Good morning, I can hear you. Good morning.
You were talking about circular economy.
Yes.
So can you please kindly expatiate more about it, because I was lost in some moment when you were trying to say something about it. So I want to know what is it all about. That's what I want to ask as a question.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll do that very quickly, but then that's okay. So circular economy is basically a system whereby you design out waste. That's it in simple words. It's a system, it's an economy whereby you design out waste, meaning that everything you do, you ensure that as much as possible, you limit the amount of waste that is being produced. That is it. So what I explained throughout the whole session was just different instances of people, designing out waste through their products, through their innovations and their services. So they design out waste. I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for that wonderful response. And you can also get to learn more. I think if we check Mercator Foundation website, you see a lot of courses on, a lot of modules on circular economy in line to your area of expertise. Okay, we just like to call on, we have 6 hands up. How do we go about?
Okay, so Emmanuel, let me propose something, because the people here are looking at me weirdly. So I can do 2 more questions, and then anyone else who has questions, you can mail it to me, and then I'll do my best to send you a response before the end of today.
That's fine. No, we take 2 more, then definitely we'll share your email with them. All right. So today you can ask your question.
Okay. Good morning. Please, quickly, I just wanted to know, for the last quiz we just did now, I didn't get the final one. What did you say it was supposed to be? Please.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
I think in the quiz that we did, so the first one was something about phone repair. So the phone repair is technical. The second one was, I think, car sharing, which is also technical. That was to the right. The third one was plastic bottle recycling, which is also technical, to the right. Then the final one was regenerative agriculture, which is to the left because it's biological. So it has to do with agriculture and decomposition of elements that we get from nature.
Okay, the last question from Kankani from Taraba State.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Hope I'm being heard.
Yes.
My question is, for example, if you have a nature degenerating machine, like let's use now an old generator as an example.
Okay.
And recycling, you try all possible to recycle the material that at the highest, but it fails. Now, discarding this will be like a waste. So how are you going to go about this instance now?
Okay. So if you have an old generator, so you're discarding, so after you've tried all possible means to change parts, and at the end of the day, it's failing, you're discarding it. So long as you're not going to just dump it yourself into landfills, that's not waste. So where we are now, we have a lot of, we call them abokis, and no offense or nothing meant by that. We call them abokis or pakara depots. They collect metal parts. So when you sell off sometimes they give you an incentive. They can give you an amount or something as an incentive for those parts. They have a direct connection with the bigger organization that can take that generator and then break it into parts and use it for something. Either burn it, use it as fuel, or like I said, turn it into a raw material for cement. So that's one of the way that you can do things with your materials that you're like, okay, I no longer want to use this. It's done beyond repair. So you could find we usually call them maybe collectors close to you that collect those items. So some people collect plastic, some people may collect textiles, some people may collect e-waste. So that generator will be under e-waste. And then they are connected to a bigger organization that can now do a better job of disposing that item. So not for you to necessarily disturb yourself about finding the bigger organization. I hope that is that a response actually answers the question you had.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Deborah. It's been a wonderful session, an enlightening one indeed this morning. It's been a great value for our time. And also, I believe that it's been a great value for each and everyone's time this morning. Thank you for taking time to facilitate the third cohort of the SDG Advocate Programme. And we look forward to have you over and over again. And on behalf of the leadership of SDSN Nigeria, we sincerely want to appreciate you, and also like to extend our appreciation to Dr. Natalie and the management of the organization. Thank you so much for this wonderful session we had with you this morning.
Oh, thank you so much. So, sorry, so there are some concerns in the comment that if you send me the questions by mail, that some of them may not get the rest of the class may not get the answers. So I don't know, this might just be a recommendation. So it depends. If you're going to share the slides with them, you could share the slides and the response to the questions along with the slide. So that may be a way where everybody gets the answers to the questions that I may be answering offline. I don't know if that works. I don't know. But then once again, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. It was awesome being here, getting to meet this room of people. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We sincerely appreciate it. So once you want to respond to those questions, we appreciate you compile them, and the responses and the questions will be sent to the entire community, not just as individual.
Okay, no problem.
So for those who want to ask a question, if you have a question specifically, you can still drop your question on the comment section, or you use the community to ask a question directly. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Deborah. We always appreciate your effort. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
All right. Dear participants, I believe it's been a wonderful time this morning, and right about now we are supposed to have the second module for today. We just say that I want to apologize on behalf of the facilitator. I just called in some minutes ago that he has there was an assignment given to him by the SSE to the president on SDGs. And he has to attend to that assignment. It's a national duty which he has to attend to. And he will not be able to join in for 10 a.m., but there is a plan to reschedule his session. Apologies for that. And also, I would just like to use this moment to quickly respond to some of our concerns and questions as well in line to the SDG Advocate Programme. I know that some of us have been having concern as regards the own a school project. Some of us asked concern as regards the recent assessment that was held, why some couldn't attend or attempt the assessment at all. Well, I would say that's not the end of life. Just move on with the program. There is always room for improvement. I think the assessment is it 30% of your 100% of your total grading for phase 1. So there's still a final assessment, and your attendance too is part of your score. Okay, I can see someone's hand up. Okay, but I will also prefer you just use the comment section. But I want to start my response from a question asked from King John, Kaduna State on YouTube. He said, Kaduna State is highly polluted with sewage water waste, and if I gather them as means of environmental sanitation, how can I deliver it to Planetary? So I'm going to ask you that you are in Kaduna State and Planetary is in the southwestern states. It's a very good idea you sharing it with Planetary But I will also tell you and challenge you that this is high time you have to start innovating. Your own might not be textile, you might not recycle to textile. It might be about fuel, it might be something else. So you have to start innovating as far as you can identify a particular challenge or a particular area of need in your community, then there is a solution to it. And there is nothing you want to do that does not exist. So, but if you want to share with Planetary, we can always connect you with Planetary and you know how you want to get to share with them. Yeah, that's fine. So for those of us that are on YouTube, please, if you have any question or any area of concern, we appreciate you drop your question using the comment section. Why Adamu or Muti is mic to ask his question. Attendance link has been shared though, so please check the comment section both on YouTube and on the Zoom session.
Hello,
So,
good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Adam.
Regarding the first comment you sent, sir, I'll send you the Kaduna State link.
You sent me what?
I said regarding the first comment you make about Kaduna State group, I've shared the group link to you direct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Secondly, sir, it's like you probably answer our question regarding this the recycling stuff. We have recycling system. We have it here plenty in Kaduna, but my problems are even government. They've tried it almost 3 times. There was a time this second administration around 2019, they brought that Zoom Lion to Kaduna, that they are practicing it in Lagos. But unfortunately, it was started in Kaduna. It just lasted for 6 to 8 months. It's no longer existing. So I wanted to have more idea from her, like many company or innovation people have started here, but it's just for a short period of time, it cut off. And remember, Kaduna State, 2/3 of the citizens, we engage into agricultural system. If this can work to us, to say we can produce fertilizer and other things like that, it will surely boost our economy down here in Kaduna State, especially people at the rural areas.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So that's another area of engagement. In fact, it could have fit the next masterclass session on achieving the SDGs through governance and partnership. You know, we can't leave you can't leave everything to the government alone. And yes, as individuals, as corporate organization, PPP is also areas which we can invest in. So, maybe during the masterclass session on achieving the SDGs through governance and partnership, we'll get more insight on that. But I would just quickly like to, attendance link is open, please check your phone or check your device very well. Others have filled it. I would like to share some information about phase 2 of the SDG Advocate Programme. The phase 2, which we are getting to, is the Own a School project. And what you have to do for Own a School project is to identify a school, which I believe most of us should have been able to do. And the entry is going to close this evening. Identify a school within your area, and latest by Monday, an introduction letter will be sent to you for those who their schools has been approved. And once your school is approved, present your letter to the principal and let them know who you are, let them know where you're coming from, let them know your motive. But definitely the letter is going to do more presentation on your behalf. So it's good they see that letter. But if you can sell yourself out first before you present the letter, that's fine. But I will always advise that you present the letter first. You present the letter.
Okay, sir, regarding this point you are just giving us on the issues of school, sir.
Please hold on. I'm going to attend to your area of concern. I just quickly have to share this information before I forget, as I'm instructed to do. Regarding the Own a School project, once you've submitted your introduction letter, you get to have a date with them, which they are going to give you. And most importantly, the Own a School advocacy project, which you have to do, is to visit the school, engage the students on SDGs, and introduce the sustainable development goals to them. This you are to do in 1 or 2 visits, not more than 2 visits. And definitely we have some advocates that get to, because we're also concerned about sustainability of the UNESCO project, most especially schools that you've been able to set a club, or you've been able to bring a group of students together working on maybe a certain aspect of sustainable development. So, and you can't teach them, or you can't teach them the old rudiment of sustainable development, sustainability at once. Yeah, but it's very important to introduce the SDGs from Go 1 to Go 17 to them. And the other aspect which we always have issues is when you are submitting a letter to a principal and they give you a date, and you as an advocate, you are not keeping to the date. And most of the times we receive calls from the principal that they gave social advocates also dates, and he or she is not in the school at that particular time. Please, let's ensure we keep to date. Whichever date the school gives us, let's keep to the date. And when you are submitting your letter, it's important you get a contact number which you can always call. And also it's important they have your number. So if you are submitting your letter, if your number is not on that letter, ensure you write your number somewhere where they can see your name, you can see your phone number, and they can reach out to you easily at any point in time. Then the second part of what you have to do as advocate is the community-based development advocacy projects and SDG virtual advocacy. That we are doing as a group, interstate, and each state can also have sub-team. Maybe take, for example, let me use Lagos State. Lagos State is very small, but being small is not like I said, it's small. It's it's very big, and it's just very far from one end to another. But a state like Lagos State, you can have people coming from Lekki, people coming from Bega, and people coming from Uwe Axis. So it might be very difficult for people coming from Lekki to meet people coming from Bega, and definitely you want to create sub-teams. So you can create sub-team in each state, and once you do that, the next line is for you to submit a proposal for your state that this is a project we want to do, this is how we want to go about it, this is what we want to achieve. There is a template for doing that. They will also share the template with all the state reps, and once they share this template with you, there is a deadline for you to submit your proposal. Let me even check the deadline. The deadline for you to submit your proposal is 20th of May for community project and advocacy. Then the other virtual advocacy is a virtual webinar, which we are all to do on SDGs. You might focus on one SDG, or you might focus on 2. You can also focus on 2 or more, but definitely it's a 2-time webinar, which in line to engaging general public in your state and also sensitizing people about the SDGs. Believe me or not, we still have a large population of Nigeria that do not know about the SDGs, and we all have a role to play. We all have a responsibility in achieving that. And at the end of this, you are also going to submit a report, and the submission deadline for Own a School project report is 18th of June, while submission deadline for virtual advocacy is 20th of June, and submission deadline for the community-based advocacy project is 24th of June. Please, it's very good. It's very important you keep to deadlines. I've said I won't be using the word deadlines personally. It's very important for you to keep to timelines. So I prefer to use the word timelines, because for the SDG Advocate Programme, there is a timeline of activities which has been laid for 2023. By the grace of God, we are still going to have 2 more cohorts after this cohort, that's after cohort 3, and their dates are already there, are intact. So if you are delaying by a week, that means it's going to affect the other cohorts, so which the organization will not even give approval to. So won't like the program manager have issues with their responsibility. So it's very important we keep to the timeline. For the schools and for communities which you are working with, yeah, you can partner with organizations, you can partner with community groups. There is an introduction letter or partnership letter that will also be shared with you in that regard. And I think those are the basic information I have, and I've already attended to the aspect of our assessment. So if there are other areas of concern, please kindly use the comment section to ask your question. I don't know if there is any other person on, there's nobody on YouTube. Do you have anyone here on Zoom that wants to ask a question? Or let me just check the comment section if there are questions. Okay, someone is asking that can we have the report format? Like I said, the reports, once the first template that will be shared with you is that the proposal templates. Then by this weekend, they are going to share the template for introduction. It's an introduction letter to the school principal, which you are engaging for your own school project. Then someone asked regarding the school project, must it be primary school? Second, I want to submit the school per participant or state we go for. So you have to do that. It's on a school, it's an individual project. It's an individual project which you have to do. And regarding the school, you are meant to work with a secondary school for now. You are meant to work with a secondary school for now. So that's the question. And also there is a new link that will be shared with us. It has to do with advocacy resources. So the communication officer is going to share that with you later in the month, but it's very important. I think that I'll also communicate with them. They are going to share that with you. The virtual advocacy is not an individual project, it's a state project, interstate project. So it's the second part of your community advocacy project. I don't know if there are other questions. Let me just check. Okay, I can see Jimmy's hand up. Jimmy, you can unmute your mic and ask a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. I have two questions. My first question is based on the community project. I'd like to know, what are we supposed to do for the community project? Is it maybe some sort of CSR, giving back to society? How does it work? Or is it a lecture, kind of what we did or what we're going to do for the only school project? So in what form, is the community project supposed to take place? How is it supposed to be? And then my second question is, for the only school project, is it just one day we're going to deliver a lecture? Because from what I read in the brochure that was sent, we're supposed to sort of establish an SDG club in the schools. So will you require us visiting the schools often, or maybe gathering the students and some staff to train them on what we're being trained on? How does it work, please? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The very first question, I will just refer to the advocacy resources template on the proposal, which you have to submit. There is a content on that proposal that states samples of different projects which you can do in line to the community advocacy, community-based advocacy project, because this is going to be a fiscal engagement. We've seen states that did cleanups. In fact, this time around, we are looking less at cleanups because I don't want to criticize that anyway. It's fine. We can do it, but the sensitization part is the most important aspect. And well, we've also seen states that did things that has to do with recycling. But on the template that is going to be shared with you, there are more information which you can study from there. Then, sorry, by now we should all be on the LinkedIn community. So please let me just note that down. By now you should all be on the LinkedIn community for SDG Advocates. Then you see what they've done, you see the projects they've done, you can also engage to ask questions. You see their state projects, you see their own school project, the schools they've embarked on. I'm very sure but there is I think, let me say 0.6 likelihood that some people are going to go to schools that we already have an advocate on, but that's fine. That's the sustainability pattern for this Own a School project. So it's going to be a maximum of 2 times visits officially, but after the program, you can get to engage with your students. I remember earlier in 2019, I said I actually trained a group of secondary school students, like 10 schools on SDGs, and 2 of those schools went back to set up their SDG club, and I had to engage with them further after the training. I think they always have their meeting every 3rd week during break, and I try as much as possible to also visit them during their break session. So these are ways which we can encourage the students. These are ways which we can get to motivate them on their projects. So I believe I have answered your question, Jimmy, right?
Yes, you have. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I don't know if there are other questions, but if there are other areas of concern, you can just use, you can reach out to the communication manager or other program managers. They will share more information on that. But for today, they are going to share the link to the LinkedIn community whereby we should all join. It's very important, all advocates join the LinkedIn community. Then you see what all other quotes have done. And yeah, you can also engage and ask them questions. All right, thank you, everyone. Our next session is going to be next week, Friday, and that might be our final session, but we are still looking at reviewing. Please also send me. Okay, yeah, definitely. We are going to have the templates, most especially, well, we are going to have the templates, and you can always check the learning resource link. And the advocacy resource link is also going to be shared with us. All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the rest of the day.
My name is Adejoke Lasisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. Planet 3R is a social enterprise that is dedicated to converting textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. I realize that many people are already doing things in the environmental sector, but I noticed that they neglect the pure water sachet a lot. And when you look at it, in a day, some people drink like 10 of it in a day, and they just throw it down like that. I now thought of it that how can we complement the existing solution? How can we use it to make sure that this waste is no longer there, at the same time create opportunity from converting those wastes into items?
I came here as a weaver to learn how to weave. Then I was introduced into how to convert this waste into weaving.
Mo gbọ́ tí nǹkan inform mi nípa planetary, but wọ́n dẹ̀ inform mi, so ẹni yẹn ṣàmùmọ̀ àǹtí jẹ́ pé.
We've also been able to employ women and girls. Also, we've sensitized the need of having a clean environment to over 6,000 students and communities across Oyo State, Nigeria.
The impact she's making, because people see pure water sachet as irrelevant. I'm done with my water, I bought it 20 naira and I've thrown it away. And then when they see the bag, they see the product of Planetary Health, they're like, you mean that sachet that you're just about to throw away can become this good? I mean, it's phenomenal.
This is Amororo Kitchenette. So we are selling food here. Planet 3R is in our neighborhood here. I dispose the pure water nylon to them every week.
We've been trying to do this. We are making sure that nobody is left behind. Even we want to make sure that we catch them young, especially the advocacy part, so that they are conscious of the environment.